alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this lecture. And in this lecture we are supposed to talk about two different topics. These two topics are written language and culture. And hopefully by the end of this class and by the end of this lecture, I hope that each one of you will gain something that is interesting and useful. So let's talk about the first topic, which is about written language. So in this topic, or in this lecture, or in the first part of this lecture, we are going to talk about what is the system, or how the system of writing, how does the system of writing work, and then we are going to talk about language and culture and the impact of culture on language and the intersection, or how language and how language is intersected with culture. So, with regard to the first topic, that is about written language, which as opposed to spoken language, we are going to introduce what does writing mean. So whenever I say written language, this means the opposite is spoken language. At the same time, this doesn't mean that these two forms of language are contradicting each other, or they are, they work in isolation or in separation. In fact, both of these forms work together. So both of these two forms work together, the written language as well as spoken language. But written language is different in terms of, sometimes we use specific words which we cannot use, or which are not acceptable in the spoken form, and vice versa. So, what is writing? In brief, writing is the symbolic representation of language through the use of graphic signs. So the key words in this definition is symbolic, graphic, and signs. And these three features are, what makes writing is different from spoken language. In spoken language, it's not necessary to have symbolic representation, with graphic designs or with graphic signs. In spoken, we don't have this kind of signs. It's based on orally. It's based on it's orally, unlike writing, which is based on representing something. Writing is also a system that is not simply acquired, but has to be learned through sustained, conscious effort. So it's not something that is to be acquired as spoken. It's rather something that needs to be learned. With conscious, with effort, with paying attention to something. Some languages don't have written form, and that's a very interesting piece of information. In the next slides, we are going to talk about three different types of written language. These three, or the first type of written language, is called pictogram. So pictogram is a writing phenomena when some pictures came to represent so when pictures came to represent particular images in a consistent way, we describe this product as a form of picture writing, or what is known as pictograms. and we'll take some examples in the next slide. So pictograms are figures which are language independent. Okay, so this is very important. So all such figures, all such images are language independent. They are not dependent. Okay, so there is, there is independence and can be understood with some conventional meaning in different places where a number of different languages are spoken. I know that this definition might be a little bit confusing for some of you. Okay, but let's take the example, and by understanding this example, I'm sure you will get the essence and the meaning of pictograms. So if we just take any one of these images or pictograms, for example, if we take the first picture on our left-hand side, we can see a spoon and fork. So this pictogram is a clear sign. This sign is very clear that it indicates to food. Okay, so I will immediately get the impression that there will be, for example, some restaurant or some place to eat in somewhere. Okay, so this pictogram, which is the first one, indicates that there is a restaurant just ahead of me. It might be on my right hand side, or might be on my left hand side, or maybe just ahead of me. Okay, same thing can be applied to all of these these different pictograms. So this is what is meant by pictograms. So let me briefly define pictograms. Pictogram, it's something that represents, or it's an image, or it's a picture that represents a particular image in a consistent way in order to describe this product as a form of picture writing. The second type of written language is called ideogram or ideograms. So an ideogram is part of a system of idea. Okay, it has an abstraction away from the physical world. So if we just look at this word, okay, we can understand and we can get a comprehension that there is a connection between the meaning of the words and the physical world, unlike the second type of written language, which shows that this word or this idea is it's an abstract. Okay, it doesn't necessarily indicate something that is existing in the real world. Okay, ideograms is the use of a representative symbol that everyone or everybody should use to convey a roughly similar meaning. So the more picture-like forms are pictograms, like what we have just seen in these few examples. And if it's more abstract, okay, this is called ideograms. So just look at these ideograms, okay, and we can see that they are less abstract than these ones. That doesn't mean that they are completely abstract, okay, or they are completely or they don't mean or they don't indicate something, okay, but they are less clear than these ones. They might be less. These ones are pretty much clearer than these ones. So this is what we mean by ideograms. So the main distinction, if the more picture-like forms are called pictograms, and the more abstract derived forms are called ideograms. The third type of written language is called logograms. So logograms are symbols to be used to represent words in a language. They can be described as word writing. And this is the third level, or the third type of the third type of written language, which is we can say the more abstract one, because it needs some some education in order to understand such logograms. Logograms refer to the written form that gives no clue, it doesn't give any hints, unlike the previous two types of written language. So this type of written language doesn't show or doesn't give us any clue to what type of entity is being meant or is being referred to. The relationship between the written form and the object it represents has become arbitrary and have no clear example of word writing. For example, these are some Chinese words, okay, from Chinese. If we just look at them, we will immediately spot one difference, that these characters or these words are, they are more difficult to be understood and to be comprehended than the previous symbols or the previous graphic signs. Why? Because these are logograms. These words need to be learned. These words or these graphic signs need to be acquired. Unlike these ones, which of course all of them need to be acquired, all of them need to be learned, okay? But these ones, these examples of logograms are more complicated to be understood, okay? So if we just look at some of them, we'll see the sign, okay, with what does it mean. Okay, so the first column is the object, and the second object, and the second column indicates the word or the logograms. This will takes me to talk about the next topic in written language, which is the syllabic writing. So what is syllabic writing? The symbol that is used for the pronunciation of parts of a word to represent a unit, such as pa. So pa, or this syllable of ba, consists of two sounds, which are ba and a. Ba is a consonant sound and a is a vowel sound. So when we get these two sounds in combination, okay, this will form what is known as a syllable. So once ba and a get together, okay, once we join them, okay, this will form a unit, and this unit is known as syllable. Okay? Accordingly, when a writing system employs a set of symbols, okay, each one of these symbols would represent the pronunciation of a syllable. It's described as a syllabic writing. Okay, and in some words might have more than one syllable. Some words might have 3 syllables, 2 syllables, 4 syllables as well. Okay, so for example, if we look at the word ba, okay, we will immediately, okay, find the answer that this word has 2 syllables. Okay, ba. It has 4 sounds with 2 units. Ba is the first sound, the first unit. Ba is the second syllable. So in this word we have 2 syllables, and usually we use a sort of a dash between each syllable, and that's what you will see in any dictionary. Okay, so when syllabic writing is formed, okay, we can move to alphabetic writing. So when we have a set of symbols being used to represent syllables like ba, okay, just the example which I have just mentioned, a or ba sound or an m sound, then you are very close to a situation in which the symbols can be used to represent single sound types in a language. And this is the basis of alphabetic writing. So alphabetic or alphabets, okay, is a set of written symbols. Each one or each alphabet would represent a single type of sound or phoneme or phoneme. Like for example, a, okay, is an alphabet. It's a written symbol. It represents a single type of sound. Same thing with ba or sa or da or maybe a ra, etc. Okay, so each single alphabet is in fact a writing system or just one form or an alphabet that would represent a single, a particular or a peculiar, okay, or a different sound or phoneme. Okay. So as long as we are talking about alphabets, syllables, writing or written language, we have to talk about orthography or what is known as spelling. So English orthography or spelling, okay, is subject to a lot of variations because English language is is full of words borrowed from other languages such as Greek, German, French, etc. For example, the sound th, okay, in alphabet word, okay, and orthography, okay, are used for are used to for a single sound, okay, rather than two sounds. So we can't say that ba is sound and ha is sound. We treat them as single sound. So it's not a matter of how many letters do I have, it matters of, or it's a matter of how many sounds do I have. Okay? And these two examples would make this very clear to be understood. Okay. So let's move to the second part of this lecture, which talks about language and culture. Culture is a very, very important aspect, okay, of life, and as we know that we cannot look at any language in isolation or in separation from its culture. Language and culture, both of them always come to, they both come together. So culture refers to all ideas, assumptions about the nature of things and people that we learn when we become members of a certain social groups. Okay, so it includes all, all ideas, assumptions, expectations about the nature of things and people that we learn when we become members of certain social groups. And as we know that cultures might be different from, cultures are different. Okay, so as a result of this, ideas and assumptions and expectations will be obviously different from one culture to another. So culture is also defined as socially acquired knowledge. So it's something to be acquired. So both of language and culture are something to be acquired without necessarily conscious awareness. This is the main difference between the acquisition of language and the acquisition of culture. The acquisition of culture, it's something that we learn without lots of effort or conscious awareness, unlike language, which requires a high level of conscious awareness. Throughout the culture, which include the words we acquire, we learn to recognize the types of category distinctions that are relevant in our social world. For example, words which are considered to be distinct types of creatures in some societies, such as a dog and a horse. So in some societies or in some cultures, okay, those who don't have horse, okay, they cannot use it and they cannot consider it as something of their culture, simply because they are, this type of creature is not existed. Okay, so within culture we have what is known as categories. Categories, or a category, is a group of certain features in common, and we can think of the vocabulary or words we learn as an inherited, something we inherited. Okay, so it's something that we learn as an inherited set of category labels. Such vocabulary refer to concepts that people in our social world have typically needed to talk about. There is a belief that there is a relationship between the set of words we have learned, okay, and that's what we mean by categories, and the way external reality is organized. So there is a relationship between what we learn, okay, between such categories and the external world, what is existing outside. So the first type of category is called kinship terms. And what I mean by kinship terms are those words which used to refer to people who are members of the same family. For example, brother, mother, grandmother, etc. Yet they might be understood differently based on their, differences in different cultures. So they don't all put family members into similar categories. In some languages, the equivalent of the word father is used not only for a male parent, but might also include male parent's brother. And this is, this is a big difference. In some cultures, the word father might include either a male parent, okay, or the close male parent, whereas in some other cultures, okay, father might indicate or might be considered as a word that refer to male parent's brother as well, okay, which is uncle. So sometimes in some cultures, uncles can be called fathers as well. The second type of category is called time concepts. So when we learn words such as week or weekend, okay, we are inheriting a conceptual system that is less abstract, that is abstract, that operates with amounts of time as common categories. Having words indicating units of time such as 2 days, 7 days, a week, etc. This would show that we think of time as something that is abstract, with nothing to happen in reality. So with nothing or with no physical existence in reality. But it's rather something that is abstract. Some type or another type of categories, we have what is known as cognitive categories. So a classification of words in languages show different grammatical markers which could also indicate the type of class of noun involved. For example, if we look at classifiers, okay, we can classify it as classifiers are often used in connection with numbers to indicate the type of thing being counted. For example, if I say, or if I use chair and information, I will get a cognitive difference that these two words cannot be counted at the same time, because here we have a different grammatical markers. We cannot say informations because this is non-countable nouns. Unlike chair, which can be counted, which can be considered as countable. Okay, so such grammatical markers are called classifiers. The second type of categories, or another type of category in addition to the previous categories, is known as social category or social categories. So words such as uncle or grandmother provide examples of social categories, as they mean differently in different languages, as the example which I have just given in the previous slide. These or those categories of social organization that we can use to say how we are connected or related to others. The word uncle is used for a larger number of people who are outside the class of individuals covered by the technical definition. So sometimes it's referred to something that is beyond the technical meaning or the technical definition. The word brother can be used as an address term, or a word or a phrase for the person being talked to or written to claim the closeness, okay, or the attachment in relationship, which doesn't necessarily mean the close brother. For example, I might say to someone who is not close brother to me, I can't say, or I might say, brother, can you spare me $1, for example, for asking someone on street or on the street. So the word here is an indication that this person is not your close friend, or it's not necessarily your close friend, but it's something, or it's word to be used to show a sign of closeness or attachment. Let's move to gender. Okay, gender is very important when we talk about culture. So the observation that address terms for a man and woman leads to a consideration of the differences in social categorization based on gender. And within gender, okay, we have also some branches. We have what is known as gendered words. And in some languages, there are some words which are uniquely used by men, and some other words which are uniquely used by only women. We have also, as part of gender, we have what is known as gendered structures. So there are differences or variation in some languages, or in some language uses according to gender. For example, women are more likely to use the higher prestige forms than men, as some research show. Within gender, we have what is known as gender speech. So in terms of speech, men speak in a lower pitch range, which is with average of 80 to 20 to 200 hertz, whereas women, they might speak in much higher pitch range, between 120 to 400 hertz. So there is a variation. There is a difference in pitch range. And we know that pitch is sort of an intonation. Pitch is the effect of vibration of the vocal cords. Within gender, we have what is known as same-gender talk. This concept is important because of our socialization, which takes place in such groups. The same-gender socialization is reinforced through separate educational experiences. So boys socialize in larger groups, whereas girls, okay, might socialize in smaller groups. So we call this same gender talk. So boys, when they spoke to boys, okay, they have a certain type of talk, okay, or certain way of talk, whereas girls, when they get together, okay, they might speak or they might talk in different, you know, a different way than boys, okay, simply because we have what is known as same gender talk. That's all what I want to say for this lecture. We covered two topics. In the first lecture, or in the first section of this lecture, I have talked about written language and the types of written language, the three main types of written language. And in the second part of this lecture, I talked about language culture and the importance and the significance of culture for any culture. I hope you understood it, and I hope you enjoy it as well, and hope to see you in the next lecture. I wish you all the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.